Tom had always thought his life on the edge of the Valari colony was quiet enough. He worked as a mechanic in a small workshop that sat between the dusty plains and the busy spaceport. Every morning he cleaned his hands with a rough towel, checked his tools, and started fixing things that the Valari traders brought to him. Sometimes it was a small shuttle with a broken engine, sometimes a drone with cracked wings. He never asked questions, and they never talked much to him. The aliens were polite but distant, and that was fine with him. He liked being left alone with machines. The Valari were tall, graceful beings with smooth blue skin and bright silver eyes. They wore long robes and spoke with calm voices that made every sentence sound like a song. Tom respected them. He knew humans were new in this part of the galaxy, and he did not want to make a bad name for his kind. So he kept his head down and focused on his work. One afternoon, as the twin suns began to set, Tom was fixing a small shuttle engine outside his workshop. The sky turned orange and pink, and soft winds blew dust across the yard. He was halfway through replacing a coolant valve when he felt the ground shake. The sound that followed was unlike any he had heard before, a deep royal hum like a large ship slowing to land. Tom stood up, wiping his hands on his shirt, and looked to the horizon. A massive golden ship was descending slowly toward the workshop. Its shape was elegant and smooth, shining under the fading light. Around it flew a group of smaller guard ships forming a protective circle. The sight made Tom's heart race. He had seen military ships before, but never one like this. The markings on the hull were clear. It was a royal ship of the Valari Empire. Tom backed away as the ship landed right outside his workshop. The dust rose high, covering everything in a golden cloud. When the air cleared, he saw tall guards stepping out, wearing silver armor and carrying staffs that glowed faintly at the top. Then, between them, came a figure taller and grander than all others. Her robe shimmered like water, and a silver crown rested on her head. Even without anyone saying her name, Tom knew who she was, the Valari Queen herself. His heart skipped a beat. What could she possibly want from a simple mechanic like him? He quickly bowed, unsure what else to do. The guards surrounded him in a half-circle, silent and watchful. The Queen's eyes studied him for a long moment before she spoke. "Are you the human called Tom?" she asked in a clear, commanding voice. Tom swallowed hard. "Yes, Your Majesty. I am Tom. I fix ships here. I serve whoever needs help." The Queen stepped closer. Her presence was strong but not cruel, yet her eyes showed that she was angry, or maybe confused. "You will explain something to me, human," she said. "My grandchild has begun speaking in strange words that make no sense. She claims she learned them from you. Tell me how this happened." Tom blinked. "From me? I do not understand, Your Majesty. I have never met your grandchild." Her silver eyes narrowed slightly. "Then you deny teaching her?" she asked. "I do not even know who she is," he said carefully. "I only fix ships, sometimes for your guards. I do not teach anyone." The Queen turned her head slightly. One of the guards brought forward a smaller figure, a young Valari girl who looked no older than 10 in human years. Her skin was softer blue, her eyes wide and curious. She had a small band of silver around her wrist and wore a playful smile. As soon as she saw Tom, her face lit up. "Hey, what's up, dude?" she shouted cheerfully. The words echoed through the quiet air. The guard stiffened. The Queen's expression froze. Tom's jaw dropped. The Queen's voice rose in disbelief. What did she just say? The girl giggled. "I said, 'What's up, dude?' That's what humans say, right?" Tom stared, lost for words. The Queen turned back to him, her voice now sharper. "You see? She speaks in this human tongue. These strange words. Explain, mechanic." Tom quickly shook his head. "Your Majesty, I swear I did not teach her. I have never spoken to her before today." The little girl stepped forward and said proudly, "I learned it from him. Well, kind of. He is on the network. He fixes ships and talks about cool stuff. I watched his repair videos. Humans talk funny, but I like it." Tom finally understood. He had once uploaded repair videos to the interplanetary net, showing how to fix small engines using simple tools. He sometimes talked to the camera in casual human language, saying things like, "Hey, this trick's pretty cool," or "Easy fix, no stress." Dude. He never thought anyone outside his small human colony watched them. The Queen crossed her arms, still frowning. "You are telling me my grandchild learned this speech from watching your repair demonstrations?" Tom nodded nervously. "It seems so, Your Majesty." "I did not know she was watching." The little princess smiled again. "It's fun. Humans use short words. They make things sound friendly. One of the guards muttered something under his breath in the Valari language, sounding displeased. The queen gave him a quick look to silence him. She then turned back to Tom. "You will come with me to the palace," she said. "You will explain to me and my court what this human speech means. I must understand how such simple words have reached the royal line." Tom's mouth opened slightly. "Your Majesty, I am only a mechanic. I do not belong in a palace." "You do now," she said firmly. "My grandchild has started greeting the elders with 'Yo, what's up?' and calling her teachers chill. I demand to know why." Tom had no choice. The guards motioned for him to follow. He quickly gathered a few tools from his workbench out of habit, though he doubted he would need them in a royal palace. His heart pounded as he followed the queen toward her grand ship. The young princess skipped beside him, clearly excited, while the guards stayed serious and silent. As they boarded, Tom looked around at the inside of the royal vessel. The walls shimmered with soft light. The air smelled like flowers mixed with metal. Everything felt alive, responding to the queen's presence. He had never been in such a place. He sat quietly while the queen and her guards took their seats. During the flight, the princess turned to Tom. "Do humans really say, 'You rock,' when someone does something good?" she asked. Tom smiled nervously. "Yes, it means you did something great." "Like you are amazing," she grinned. "Then you rock, Tom." The queen sighed softly but said nothing. She kept her eyes forward, though Tom could tell she was thinking deeply. Maybe she was wondering how her grandchild found joy in human words. Maybe she feared it meant something more. When the ship landed, Tom saw the Valari Palace in the distance. It looked like a city made of glass and light, floating above a green valley. Towers stretched high into the clouds. Long bridges connected the palace to gardens filled with silver trees. It was beautiful beyond words. As he stepped out of the ship, Tom tried to breathe calmly. He felt out of place among the tall guards and elegant servants. The queen turned to him once more. "You will speak truth, human," she said. "If you have brought strange influence to my family, you must explain it." Tom bowed slightly. "I promise, Your Majesty. I will tell you everything I can." The little princess ran ahead, still laughing, repeating new words she had learned. "Let's go, Grandma. This is gonna be awesome." The queen closed her eyes for a moment, perhaps trying to understand what awesome meant. Then she walked forward, leading the way into the grand hall. Tom followed, nervous but curious. He had no idea that his simple repair videos would bring him face to face with royalty. He had no plan, no script, and no idea what would happen next. But one thing was certain. His quiet life as a small mechanic on the edge of the colony was over. The Valari Queen wanted answers, and he was now at the center of a royal mystery that began with 3 strange human words. "What's up, dude?" The royal palace of the Valari Empire was more magnificent than anything Tom had ever seen. Tall towers shimmered like crystal, connected by silver bridges that floated in the air. Streams of soft light ran through the walls, giving the halls a peaceful glow. Every step echoed gently on the polished floor. The air smelled like fresh rain mixed with something sweet and clean. For the first time in his life, Tom felt small and very human. Guards led him through a long hallway lined with moving murals that showed the history of the Valari people. They were a proud and ancient race that ruled many star systems. The murals showed tall figures with glowing crowns leading armies of light, exploring new worlds and building floating cities. Tom tried not to stare too much, but every image made him feel more nervous. He was only a mechanic, a man who fixed machines with his hands. What was he doing in a palace like this? The queen walked ahead, graceful and silent. Her steps were light, but her presence filled the hall. The little princess, Alira, skipped happily beside her, humming a tune she had learned from human music. Tom followed behind, feeling like a small worker ant walking among giants. He wanted to ask what would happen to him, but the guards looked too serious to question. Finally, they entered a large room with high windows that opened to a view of the stars. This was the royal audience chamber. The floor was a smooth circle of silver stone, and in the center stood a wide platform surrounded by a pool of calm water. The queen stopped and turned to face Tom. "You will stand there," she said, pointing toward the center. Tom obeyed at once. The guards stood at the edges of the room. The queen took her place on a tall seat made of crystal. Beside her, young Alira sat on a smaller seat, her legs swinging freely. Tom tried to stand straight, but his hands were shaking slightly. The silence in the room felt heavy. The Queen spoke first. You said you did not meet my grandchild before today, she said. Yet she speaks like you. She greets people with these odd sounds and words. Explain what you humans mean when you say such things. Tom nodded slowly. Your Majesty, humans use many kinds of speech. Sometimes we speak politely. Sometimes we use casual words. When someone says, "What's up, dude?" it means they are asking how you are. It is friendly, not rude. The Queen frowned slightly. Friendly? Sounds strange to my ears. Our people greet each other with respect, not short noises. Alira giggled softly. But Grandma, it makes people smile. When I said it to my teacher, he looked surprised but happy. The Queen sighed. That is because he was afraid to correct a princess. Then she looked back at Tom. Tell me, mechanic, why do humans use so many strange phrases instead of speaking clearly? Tom thought for a moment. Humans use slang to make life lighter, he said. It helps people feel close. It can turn fear or sadness into laughter. It makes work easier and friendship stronger. The Queen listened without interrupting. Her eyes softened slightly, though her face stayed serious. You mean your words carry emotion as well as meaning, she said slowly. Yes, Tom said. Sometimes one small word can show care, respect, or even hope. Like when humans say, "You rock," it means someone did something good. It is our way of showing support. Alira smiled brightly. I told you, Grandma. I said that to the cook yesterday when she made my favorite meal. The Queen rubbed her forehead as if her head hurt a little. Yes, and the poor cook almost fainted because she did not know if you were insulting her or not. Tom tried not to laugh but failed slightly. It can sound funny if you are not used to it, Your Majesty, but humans often use humor to make others feel comfortable. Humor, the Queen repeated softly. Another strange human idea. The Queen called for her advisor, a tall alien named Relis who had golden markings across his face. Relis stepped forward and bowed. Your Majesty, he said calmly, perhaps it would be wise to study this human's speech patterns before we allow such influence in the royal family. Tom looked between them, unsure if that was good or bad. The Queen nodded. Very well. You will stay in the palace for a short time, human. You will explain human language to me and my council. Until then, you are not to leave without permission. Tom's heart sank a little. Stay in the palace? He asked carefully. Your Majesty, I have a workshop to run. The Queen's tone softened just a bit. You will be paid for your time, she said. And you will be safe here. My curiosity must be satisfied before I decide what to do next. Tom bowed his head. As you wish, Your Majesty. Alira clapped her hands happily. Yay. That means you get to stay, Tom. I can learn more words. The Queen sighed again but smiled faintly. It seems I cannot stop you, little one. Later that evening, Tom was shown to a guest room overlooking the glowing gardens. The room was larger than his entire workshop, with soft lights that changed color gently and a round bed that adjusted its shape to his body. He sat on the edge, still in disbelief about where he was. From the window, he could see the floating gardens shining under the twin moons. It was beautiful, yet he could not rest. He was far from home, and he was now a guest or maybe a prisoner of a powerful alien queen. A gentle knock came at the door. When it opened, Alira peeked inside, smiling. Can I come in? She asked. Tom nodded. Of course, Princess. She ran to the chair beside him and sat down. You don't have to call me Princess, she said. Just Alira, that's what my friends call me. Tom smiled a little. All right, Alira. She looked curious. Do humans really have so many words? Grandma says you make new ones all the time. Tom nodded. Yes, we do. We like to play with language. We make new words when we need to express new feelings or when life changes. Alira's silver eyes widened. That's amazing. On Volari, our language hasn't changed for centuries. Only poets are allowed to invent new phrases. Maybe that's why you like human speech, Tom said softly. It feels free. She thought about that and nodded. It does feel free. It makes me happy. Tom laughed quietly. Well, happiness is a good reason to learn anything. They talked for a while longer. Alira asked him to teach her more words, so he explained cool, buddy, and hang out. She repeated each one carefully, then tried to use them in sentences. Tom couldn't help but laugh when she said, This palace is cool, buddy. Her smile was bright enough to fill the room. When she left, Tom felt a little lighter. Maybe his time in the palace would not be so bad. Still, he wondered what the Queen truly planned. He knew she was curious but also proud. If she thought human influence was dangerous, she might change her mind quickly. The next morning, Tom was called to the royal library. The Queen was already there, surrounded by advisors. The walls of the library were lined with glowing symbols and floating books. The Queen motioned for Tom to step forward. "Today you will explain more," she said. "We will see if there is wisdom in these human words." Tom nodded, ready to do his best. The Queen handed him a small glowing crystal. "This contains recordings of my grandchild speaking. Listen and explain what she means." Tom listened to the recording. It played Alira's voice saying things like "no worries," like "take it easy," and "that's awesome." He smiled. "She means everything is fine, calm, or wonderful," he said. "These words show peace and kindness, not disrespect." The Queen leaned back, thinking. "Peace and kindness," she said softly. "Our people often speak with honor and formality. We do not use soft words like that. Maybe we have forgotten how." Her words surprised everyone in the room. The advisors exchanged uncertain looks. For a moment, the Queen's expression was not one of anger, but of quiet thought. She looked at Tom again. "You may not understand it, human, but your way of speaking may hold something valuable. Perhaps that is why my grandchild finds it comforting." Tom felt a bit more relaxed. "Maybe it reminds her that words can be warm, not just powerful," he said gently. The Queen gave a slow nod. "Perhaps. We shall see." As he left the library that day, Tom realized something important was beginning. He had come to the palace as a frightened mechanic, but now the Queen was listening to him. The young princess trusted him. And maybe, just maybe, his simple human words were about to change the heart of an empire. Tom woke up early the next morning in his palace room. The soft light coming from the ceiling slowly brightened as the day began. The bed felt like it was made of clouds, but his mind was already busy. He could not stop thinking about the Queen, the princess, and what he was supposed to do now. He was a simple mechanic, not a teacher or a language expert. Yet here he was, living in a royal palace and explaining slang to aliens. He stood near the window and looked out at the gardens below. Silver trees waved gently in the soft wind, and crystal birds sang with sweet tones. The palace seemed peaceful, but he could feel that something important was happening here. The Volari people were proud and careful with their traditions. The fact that their young princess had started using human words must have caused quite a stir among the elders. Soon, a polite knock came at his door. A guard stepped in and said, "The Queen requests your presence in the teaching chamber." Tom nodded and followed. As they walked, the halls echoed with soft footsteps. The walls showed moving images of distant stars and ancient Volari kings. Every corner of the palace was filled with quiet beauty, but Tom felt nervous. He kept wondering if he would accidentally say something wrong and offend the Queen. When he reached the chamber, he saw the Queen seated at a high table surrounded by advisors. Young Alira was beside her, smiling brightly when she saw him. "Tom," she said happily, "I told Grandma we should have a class together." The Queen gave her a gentle look, then turned to Tom. "Human," she said in her calm, strong voice. "Today you will explain the deeper meaning of your words. My council believes that your language could confuse our people, but I want to understand it better." Tom bowed slightly. "I will do my best, Your Majesty." A few servants brought forward a small table with a translation device. It projected bright symbols that showed both Volari and human words. Tom picked one of the words that Alira had used before. "Chill." He smiled and began. "This word means to relax or calm down. It tells someone not to worry. It is used when everything is fine and peaceful." The Queen raised her brow slightly. "We have a word for peace, but it is formal. It is only used in ceremonies or written messages." "Your word sounds simple," Tom nodded. "It is simple, but that is why it works. It makes people feel close. It removes distance." The Queen looked thoughtful. "You humans use short words to build trust." "Yes," Tom said. "Words like buddy, cool, and awesome make people feel happy. They show kindness without long speeches." Alira leaned forward, eager to learn. "Tom, what about when humans say no worries?" "I like that one," Tom chuckled softly. "That means you don't have to be afraid or stressed. It shows care." The Queen listened quietly, then said, "Your language may be less formal, but it carries emotion easily. Perhaps that is why my grandchild enjoys it." Tom felt more confident now. "Humans use emotion in everything," he said. "Even our machines reflect that. When something works well, we might say, 'She runs smooth.' We talk to machines like friends sometimes. That made a few advisors exchange surprised glances. The Queen noticed but said nothing. Instead, she asked, "So your people give life to words that describe even lifeless things?" Tom smiled. "Yes, Your Majesty. It helps us understand the world. Words are not just sounds, they connect hearts." The Queen's expression softened just a little. "Perhaps your people have found balance between mind and heart," she said quietly. Before Tom could answer, the chamber doors opened, and a new figure entered. It was an older Valari noble with golden armor and a strict face. He bowed to the Queen and said, "Your Majesty, I bring a message from the High Council. They question why a human is being allowed to teach royal members without formal approval." The room fell silent. Tom felt his stomach tighten. The Queen's eyes remained calm, but her tone turned firm. "The Council will have their answers when I am ready. For now, the human remains under my protection." The noble bowed again, though he looked displeased. "As you command, Your Majesty." He turned and left. When the door closed, Alira looked at her grandmother with worry. "They don't like humans, do they?" The Queen sighed softly. "They fear what they do not understand, child. They think change is danger." Tom spoke carefully. "If I have caused trouble, I can leave, Your Majesty." The Queen raised a hand. "No, you will stay. If my council fears knowledge, then it is time they learn that words cannot harm us." Tom nodded, feeling a bit of respect for her courage. The rest of the morning passed with lessons. Tom explained simple human phrases while Alira repeated them with joy. The Queen asked many thoughtful questions and sometimes even smiled faintly when Alira used the words in funny ways. By the end of the lesson, the room that had felt cold and serious was now full of laughter. Later that day, Tom was allowed to walk in the palace gardens. The air smelled like sweet blossoms. He saw glowing ponds and small floating orbs that shined like fireflies. He sat near one of the ponds, thinking about everything that had happened. He still couldn't believe that one small video he posted years ago had reached the royal family of another world. He smiled as he remembered the moment Alira said, "You rock, Tom." The thought made him laugh quietly. Soon Alira appeared again, running toward him. "Tom, come see. Grandma's in the Hall of Echoes. She wants to show you something." Tom stood and followed her. The Hall of Echoes was one of the grandest places in the palace. Its ceiling looked like a night sky filled with stars that moved slowly, showing scenes from Valari history. The Queen stood in the center, surrounded by her advisors. "Tom," she said, "I want you to see how our people use language. We have a ritual song that carries our history. Each tone tells a story. Words here are sacred." Tom listened as a group of singers began their chant. Their voices were soft but full of strength. The language sounded like wind and water mixed together. It was beautiful but also distant, as if made only for ceremonies, not for everyday life. When the song ended, the Queen turned to him. "Do you see the difference, human? Our words are heavy with memory, but they do not invite laughter or warmth. Perhaps your slang is light, yet it touches the heart faster." Tom bowed slightly. "I think both have value, Your Majesty. Formal words carry wisdom. Simple words carry emotion. Together, they can make understanding stronger." The Queen looked at him quietly for a long time, then nodded. "You speak wisely for a mechanic," she said. Tom smiled a little. "Sometimes fixing machines teaches patience, and patience helps people understand each other." The Queen's eyes showed a hint of amusement. "You may be right." Just then, one of the younger advisors, a kind-looking Valari named Neril, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, may I suggest something? Perhaps the human could teach in the lower schools. We could see if young Valari learned from his words as the princess did." Alira's eyes lit up. "Yes, please, Grandma, let him teach." The Queen thought for a moment. "It is not a bad idea. It will also show the council that our empire is open to learning." "Very well, Tom. You will speak to the young ones tomorrow. We will see how they react to your human slang." Tom nodded, though he felt nervous again. "I will do my best, Your Majesty." That night, as he returned to his room, he felt something new, a mix of fear and excitement. He was no longer just fixing engines. He was fixing understanding between two species. The Queen's trust was fragile, but it was growing. He looked out at the glowing horizon from his window and whispered to himself, "Maybe humans have more to give than anyone thought." In another part of the palace, the Queen sat alone in her chamber. She replayed in her mind the way her grandchild had laughed earlier, the sound pure and happy. It had been a long time since laughter had filled these halls. She wondered if maybe, just maybe, these human words carried a kind of magic, one that no royal language had ever captured. Outside, the stars shone quietly, and a human mechanic slept under the same sky as an alien queen, both unaware that their shared lessons would soon change the future of two worlds. The queen's royal chamber was silent when the two guards brought Rian in. The floor glowed faintly under his boots as the heavy doors closed behind him. The air was thick with tension. Queen Althera stood by the wide window, her long silver robes flowing behind her like water. Her golden crown shone faintly as the suns of Xylar Prime set beyond the horizon. She didn't speak at first. She just stared at the horizon. Ryan waited quietly. He had learned that rushing an alien queen was never a good idea. When she finally turned, her sharp green eyes met his. There was no anger this time, only confusion and something close to sadness. "Mechanic Rian," she began softly, "you have been repairing the royal fleet for 2 moons now. You have spoken often to my daughter, Princess Nira, and to my grandchild. You are a human. You speak human words, and now my grandchild uses your words more than our own. Tell me why." Her voice was calm but heavy with emotion. Ryan took a deep breath. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "I never meant to teach the child anything wrong." He was curious. He asked questions. I just answered them. He laughed when I spoke. Maybe he liked the sound of my words. The queen studied him for a long time. Then she motioned for the guards to leave. When the doors closed again, she walked closer to him. "You think I'm angry about the words," she said quietly. "But it is not the slang that worries me. It is the connection." Rian looked puzzled. "Connection?" "Yes," the queen said. "Long ago, before your kind were known across the stars, we believed humans were too dangerous to be near our young. You adapt too fast. You make others change. Even our children feel it." She sat down and looked tired. "My grandchild is the heir to my throne. He will rule one day. If he begins to think like a human, the council will see him as weak. They will question me. They will challenge our rule." Ryan understood. It was not just about speech. It was about culture and control. But there was something else in her tone. A secret she was not saying. "Your Majesty," Ryan said softly, "I can stop visiting if you wish." "I never wanted to cause trouble." The queen shook her head. "No, that would only make the child cry again. He has grown attached to you. I do not wish to hurt him. But I need to understand something. Why do humans speak in such strange ways? You shorten words, you laugh in serious moments, you speak with warmth even when angry. Why?" Ryan smiled a little. "It's just how we are. We use words to make things lighter. Life is already hard enough. A little laughter keeps us going. Even when things are falling apart." The queen was silent for a long moment. Then she said quietly, "I see now why the child likes you. You speak as if every word carries hope." For a moment, the proud alien ruler looked less like a queen and more like a mother. Ryan saw her glance at a small crystal cube on her table. It glowed faintly, showing a hologram of a young alien girl who looked like the princess. The queen's expression softened. "She was my first child," the queen whispered, "lost to a sickness long ago. I see her in my grandchild sometimes. When he laughs with you, it feels like she is still here. That is why I do not stop him. But the council will not see it that way." Ryan lowered his head with respect. "I'm sorry for your loss. Maybe that's why he feels safe with me. Kids feel things we can't explain." The queen nodded slowly. "You are wiser than you look, human." A soft chime rang through the room. It was a call from the royal council. The queen sighed. "They grow impatient. They have seen the child mimic your words. They demand an explanation." Ryan hesitated, then said, "If you allow, I'll speak to them. I'll tell them it's my fault, not the child's." She looked at him sharply. "You would face the council for me?" Ryan smiled. "It's the least I can do. Your people gave me work, food, and a home here. I don't want that little one to suffer because of me." The queen stared at him for a long time before nodding. "Very well. But understand this. The council is not kind to outsiders. If you anger them, they may send you away forever." "I understand," Rian said firmly, "but I'll take the risk." Later that evening, he returned to his small workshop. Princess Nira and her son were waiting for him. The young one ran to him, shouting, "Hey buddy, you fixed the turbo pod yet?" Ryan laughed softly. "Not yet, little man. Give me a few more hours." Princess Nira smiled faintly. "The queen spoke to you?" "Yes," Ryan said. She's not angry, just worried. She worries too much, Nira said gently. My son likes you. That should count for something. Ryan looked at her with a hint of sadness. It does, but the council doesn't care about feelings. Tomorrow I'll speak to them. Maybe I can make them understand. Nira looked uneasy. Be careful, Ryan. They don't see humans the way we do. They think you bring change, and change frightens them. I know, he said softly. But maybe it's time someone did. That night, as the moons of Xylar Prime rose high, Ryan could not sleep. He thought about Earth, about home, and about how strange it was that an alien child somewhere far in the stars now spoke like a boy from his old neighborhood. It made him smile. He looked up through the window at the glowing skies and whispered, Whatever happens tomorrow, I'll make sure they understand. Humans don't destroy what they touch. We care. The next morning, as the twin suns rose over the royal citadel, Rian stood before the tall golden doors of the council chamber. The guards opened them slowly, and the hall inside glowed with the light of floating crystals. Dozens of alien nobles sat around a high circle. Their eyes followed him as he stepped forward. Queen Althera sat on the upper throne, her face calm but her hands tense. The lead counselor spoke first. Human mechanic, we have heard troubling reports. The royal heir speaks your tongue, uses your phrases, calls the queen grandma in your human way. Explain this. Ryan looked around the room. All eyes were fixed on him. He smiled faintly and said, Yes, he speaks like me, because he learned from me. But what he learned most isn't slang. It's kindness. It's joy. It's being himself, murmurs filled the chamber. The counselor frowned. You twist words well, human. But you are dangerous. Our culture must remain pure. Ryan stood tall. Your culture isn't weak. If a few human words can break it, then maybe it's not as strong as you think. But I don't believe that. I've seen your people's honor. I've seen your love for family. Those things are not fragile. The queen's eyes widened slightly. She had not expected him to speak so boldly. The hall went silent. The counselors looked at one another. Ryan continued, If you want to ban my words, do it. But don't take away a child's joy. He laughs when he speaks human slang. That laughter is real. Isn't that worth keeping? The silence stretched. Finally, Queen Althera rose to her feet. Her voice was calm but powerful. The mechanic is right, she said. Our strength is not in silence. It is in understanding. My grandchild speaks human slang because he feels safe with it. That is not weakness. That is love. The council was stunned. Ryan bowed deeply. For the first time, he saw the queen smile. Later, as he walked out of the chamber, the little prince ran to him, shouting, Hey, Ryan, you did it, buddy. Ryan laughed, lifting the child into his arms. Yeah, we did it, little man. We really did. And from the high balcony, Queen Althera watched them with quiet eyes. For the first time in many years, her heart felt light. The morning sun rose over the Valari Palace, casting soft golden light across the floating gardens. Birds with shimmering feathers flew in the air, their songs echoing across the crystal towers. Tom, the human mechanic, walked through the gardens with Princess Alira. She skipped ahead, laughing, and occasionally shouted new human words she had learned, like cool and awesome. Tom smiled, enjoying the sound of her laughter. It was bright and joyful, and it reminded him why he had come to this palace in the first place. The day was important. The queen had summoned the council once again. Today she would make her decision. Tom could feel the tension in the air, even from the gardens. He had spent weeks explaining human words, teaching them to Princess Alira, and showing the queen and her court how a simple word could carry warmth and connection. Now, everything depended on what the queen thought. Alira ran to his side. Tom, are you nervous? She asked. Tom shook his head. A little, but I think you know more than anyone what's right. Alira nodded proudly. Yeah, and I know you helped me, buddy. You rock. Tom laughed softly. Thanks, little one. You rock too. When they arrived at the council chamber, the room was already filled with Valari nobles. Their eyes followed Tom as he entered. At the far end, the queen sat tall and composed, her silver robes flowing around her. Princess Alira stood beside her, holding Tom's hand tightly. The lead counselor spoke first. Your Majesty, we await your decision. The child has been using human words for weeks. Some fear this will corrupt our traditions. The queen raised a hand to silence him. Enough, she said firmly. I have listened. I have watched. I have seen how these words affect my grandchild. I have heard what the human has taught. and I have made my decision." The chamber fell completely silent. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. "My people," the queen continued, her voice calm but strong, "we are not weak because a child learns new words. We are strong because we understand, we care, and we adapt. This human mechanic has not corrupted my grandchild. He has shown him kindness, laughter, and understanding. That is what all leaders need. Wisdom of the heart as well as of the mind." The counselors murmured among themselves. Some frowned, some looked thoughtful. But the queen raised her hand again. "I declare that this human, Tom, is allowed to remain at the palace. He will teach our young ones not to replace Valari words but to show them how language can bring joy and connection. Anyone who objects must understand that this decision comes from the heart of the crown." Tom felt a wave of relief and gratitude wash over him. He bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I promise I will do my best." Alira jumped up and hugged him tightly. "You did it, buddy. You stayed." The queen watched them with a faint smile. Then she addressed the council. "This does not weaken us. It strengthens us. We learn, we adapt, and we care for our children. And that is why humans can be friends, not threats." One of the older counselors stood slowly. "Your Majesty, it is unusual, but your wisdom is clear. Perhaps we have been too cautious," another nodded. "Yes, we will follow your decision. Let the child learn and let the human teach." The tension in the room lifted. Tom felt the eyes of the council on him, but now there was curiosity and respect, not suspicion. He glanced at Princess Alira, who grinned and whispered, "You rock, Tom." Tom laughed quietly. "Thanks, little one. You do too." After the council meeting, the queen called Tom and Alira to her private chambers. The room was peaceful, filled with soft light from floating crystals. The queen's eyes were thoughtful, but her face was gentle. "Tom," she said, "you have shown more than just skill with machines. You have shown wisdom, patience, and kindness. My grandchild has learned from you, and in that learning, I see the value humans can bring to our empire. You will remain here, and I wish for you to continue teaching." Tom bowed again. "I am honored, Your Majesty." "I will not fail you." The queen smiled faintly. "I know you will not. But remember this, my people will watch closely. You must always act with respect for our ways. Teach them our language as well, so the balance remains." "I understand," Tom said. "I promise," Alira clapped her hands happily. "Yay, more lessons, more words, more fun." The queen shook her head but laughed softly. "Indeed, let them learn." Over the next weeks, Tom began teaching in the palace. He worked with small groups of Valari children, showing them how words could express feelings, joy, and kindness. He taught them simple phrases, human ways of greeting, and how a joke or laughter could make friends feel closer. The children loved it. They repeated words carefully at first, then began mixing them with their own language. Princess Alira was always by his side, learning eagerly and often teaching others. She became a bridge between the humans and Valari children, showing them that words could carry warmth. Tom noticed that the queen would occasionally watch from her chambers, quietly observing, sometimes smiling when the children laughed. One day, the queen invited Tom to join her for a private discussion. They walked together in the floating gardens. The twin suns reflected on the silver leaves, making everything shine like a dream. "You have done well," the queen said. "My grandchild is happy. The children are learning, and the council has accepted your presence. But I must ask you something." Tom stopped and looked at her. "What is it, Your Majesty?" She paused before speaking. "Do humans always bring change when they are near? Will your words continue to influence more of my people?" Tom thought carefully. "Change is not always bad. My words are meant to bring joy, not disruption. I respect your culture and your traditions. I would never force anything on anyone. I only share what brings happiness and understanding." The queen studied him for a moment. Then she nodded. "I believe you. That is why I trust you. Not because of your skills with machines, but because of your heart. That is what my grandchild needs most." Tom felt a warmth in his chest. He had never expected such trust from a queen, an alien ruler of a mighty empire. He bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will not betray that trust." Weeks turned into months. Tom's teachings became a small but important part of the palace. Valari children learned not only human words, but also the spirit behind them. Laughter filled the halls more often, and the queen noticed that her grandchild was growing more confident, happier, and kind. The council slowly grew to respect Tom as well. They asked him questions, curious about human culture. He explained carefully. showing them that humans were not dangerous but full of creativity and warmth. Even the strictest counselors began to smile when they saw children laughing and speaking in playful phrases. Princess Alira became a favorite student. She learned words quickly, often inventing her own combinations of Valari and human speech. She loved surprising her grandmother with new phrases. One evening, she ran to the queen and said, "Grandma, guess what? Tom says this is totally epic." The queen looked at her with a faint smile. "I see, and it is?" Alira giggled. "Yes. It means amazing, really, really amazing." The queen laughed softly. For a long moment, she just watched the child. Then she looked at Tom, who stood quietly smiling at them. "You have done well, human," she said. "Not only have you taught my grandchild, but you have reminded me of something I had forgotten." "Joy is important even for rulers," Tom bowed. "I am glad, Your Majesty." "That was never my plan, but I am happy it happened." Finally, one peaceful evening, the queen invited Tom and Alira to walk in the palace balcony. The twin moons of Xylar Prime reflected in the floating water gardens below. The sky glowed softly with stars. Alira jumped up and down, chanting, "You rock, Tom! You rock!" Tom laughed. "Thanks, little one. And you rock too." The queen stood silently watching them. "From this day forward, humans and Valari will have a new bond," she said softly. "Not through power, but through understanding, laughter, and kindness. Let this be remembered in our history." Tom smiled, feeling that the adventure that began with a simple video and a few words of slang had grown into something much greater, a connection between worlds built on trust, joy, and the courage to embrace change. Princess Alira tugged his hand. "Come on, buddy. Let's go teach more words tomorrow." Tom nodded happily. "Lead the way, little one." And for the first time, the mechanic from Earth felt at home in an alien palace, knowing that his words had changed more than just a child's speech. They had changed hearts, bridged worlds, and brought laughter to a royal empire. The queen watched quietly, a small smile on her face, knowing that her grandchild had found a friend, a teacher, and a guide who could show the value of humanity. And in that moment, the Valari Empire felt warmer, brighter, and more alive than ever before. The end.